I'm here today to talk about perfectionism, and that should be a good thing, right, for everybody. But unfortunately, my work globally with people around the world in middle management, senior management, and C-suites in big organizations, perfectionism can and sometimes is a real pain for them, if not for people around them. So why is that? Perfectionism should be a good thing, but some people don't discriminate. For some reason, they have to do the perfectionism piece all the time. So it's not really calibrated. It's just full on 100 and whatever percent at their best. Now there is a downside to that, because if people are heading for perfectionism, either they're driving people very hard, sometimes unnecessarily, and sometimes they're driving themselves to levels where they are stressed, particularly time stressed. And if they're time stressed and they're tired and they're working too long and too hard, their private lives and work-life balance is bad. And sometimes that, lack of sleep and overstress can actually produce poor decisions or poorer decisions and poor quality. The due diligence may not be there in spite of some levels of perfectionism on particular projects or pieces of work that that person is focused in on. So, all very well understanding that, but what can we do about that? So years ago I developed something which has been taken up by many people around the world, and it's a triage system. Now you're probably familiar with the word triage in terms of hospital admissions during some sort of crisis or event, where the people who are bleeding to death need tourniquets, etc., and some of them may need emergency surgery. So there may be typically sort of three levels, sort of the instant stop the death occurring type situations, to sort of middling, you can bandage something and give somebody some water and they're better. To some extent they will last for an hour or two until the operating theatres are free or the specialists are free. And the third level is sort of people who can just be sat somewhere quietly or lie down somewhere quietly, maybe a couple of plasters or something, but they'll be seen a little later on. So this trial system, when it's applied to perfectionism, probably looks like pretty much the same thing. You've got the sort of the critical stuff, you've got the major stuff, and you've got the minor stuff. So the thing about this is not to tell you what to do. The thing is, I think, to suggest that you decide what those levels of criteria should be at the sort of crisis, major and minor level. So some people say it's 100% and 90% and 80%. Other people might say 100, 85 and 70. You decide what is right for you. And so how does that manifest when you apply this? Well, probably whenever some new project comes up, instead of diving straight into it or making some sort of Gantt chart or program, etc. for it, you decide whether all of it requires 100%, 90%, 80% at three levels, some of your own choice, and decide whether all of it or parts of it can be reduced in that level, whoever it's for. Could be for the C-suite, could be for colleagues, could be for a client, it could be for a partner, internal or external. So you decide what that needs to be, and then you decide what the practicalities of that will be, having decided whether it's at the top, the medium or the lower level. At the top level you may do everything and you may sign that off before it goes out. That's the truth. At the level 2, you might say at 90% that if you can delegate it, you'll delegate it to someone who's highly competent and will meet the due diligence requirements that you place on them and the due diligence requirements of your organisation as well. If you're unable to delegate, clearly you would just reduce certain standards of that task, of that project, to that lower level. And then at the lower level again, there might be complete delegation if you're able to do that to someone who you trust to do it. And you might even give them complete sign-off, so you don't see it again. It just floats past and goes out to whoever it's supposed to go to. But If that isn't possible and you cannot delegate, either because you don't have anyone to delegate it to, or because there isn't anyone of the right sort of qualities and standards of work for you to do it, then you decide which elements of that can be done to a lower level of due diligence. Maybe less content, maybe less depth, less breadth, but to a level that you decide isn't going to compromise your status and is not going to undermine you in any way in the view of the people that matters around you. So that is the triage system as it applies to perfectionism for those that are affected by it. Not everyone is, but quite a lot of people, I can tell you, are affected by it, and people around you may be affected by it too. So pass on this triage system to them, those people are affected, and help them to do their work better, less stress, more work-life balance, and a lot more contentment in their working lives. Thanks for listening.